Hi, my name is Isabel, and this is the video that I'm filming as part of my Slant'd Amplifier application. And so a virtual gathering that I'm really interested in hosting is an open mic, specifically for poetry, music, or any other written work that folks want to share with us. And so the purpose or intent of this is mainly not only to foster creativity and encourage and motivate each other, but also just to check in, right? I know personally I've written a lot of poetry and nonfiction work about what's happening around me in response to the election, the anti-Asian hate crimes that have still been going on, and just the conversations I've had with my family members and my community members about the anti-Blackness in my community. I just think it's a really good opportunity for us to just also process what's been happening around us in a slightly different way, beyond just talking about it, right? I see creativity as a way of processing something. And so the people I'd included is just anyone who wants to share their work. Potentially we could invite some Asian American creators, writers, poets. Some people that I'm thinking off the top of my head are Chen Chen, a poet that I really admire, as well as Franny Choi. But really, I think this is more about just community members sharing their work, regardless of what skill level or what profession they hold. It's just about letting it all out creatively. And again, this would be held online, probably over Zoom, because again, this is a virtual gathering. But I think we need this right now. I think especially, I mean, at least on my campus at Northwestern, there's still calls for abolition, calls for addressing the anti-Blackness on our campus. And I think that should still be the energy that we're holding right across the country. Anti-Blackness is still so embedded in our society. But also it's important to talk about our positionality in that situation as Asian Americans, right? I think the history of Asian Americans is really deeply grounded in this triangulation between white and Black people. And I think that's something that especially people in our generation, but also the older generation, is working through. And I think that we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. We need to process it. But also we need to learn about how we can be effective accomplices in this, right? Anti-Blackness and white supremacy affects us all, regardless of what privileges we hold. And so I think that potentially, having an open mic about how we're feeling and how we're addressing, how we're processing, and potentially actively working against anti-Blackness, right? And being anti-racist in our private lives would be just a really productive discussion. And I think doing that creatively, again, is just a different way to talk about it, a different way to think about it, and potentially a way to implicate yourself and put yourself in that situation, right? I think it's really easy to step back and just look at this as a political issue that is separate from yourself. But frankly, there's no such thing as apoliticism. Choosing to not be political is a political act in and of itself. But also, I just personally find the act of writing a creative work really cathartic, really helpful to just let it out in a different way. And so I want to open up that opportunity for other folks, and also just to hear from other people. I'm also just for my own sake, I want to be inspired by other people. So yes, that is my event, and yeah.